Good time of day to all of you, my friends, here on Chess.com. This is Master Alex Yermolinsky, and today, well, this one is my last video from the World Championship match 2018. We all know what happened. Magnus Carlsen decisively defeated Fabiano Caruana in a tiebreak session, winning all 3 games and finishing their 4-game match with 1 game to spare to retain his World Championship title. The history repeated itself. Second time in the last 2 years, Carlsen is unable to win in regulation time using classical time controls, only to, completely dominate the rapid section. He did it against Karyakin in New York 2016, and now he did it against Caruana in London 2018. Well, there are different points of view that have been expressed. The chess internet is all abuzz, with reactions to the World Championship match. And generally speaking, there are 2 positions. One of them, I think Danny Range phrased it best. He said, tie breaks of shorter time controls is chess version of overtime in professional sports, right? So time's getting shorter, and you have to do things a little quicker, and everything's going to be decided a little sooner, so the spectators can go home before midnight. All right, that is true, although not for all sports. Of course, we know, there's one example is baseball, right? Where, tough luck. Sometimes you have to play a 17-inning game. And yet, nobody's going to reschedule the next game. But, all right, I understand. So if that's the point of view, then what Magnus did, including his offering a draw in a better position in game 12, which, of course, was widely publicized and debated on the chess internet. It's all part of the strategy. He knows he's better in rapid games, and he's there to win. Well, that's one point of view. There is another point of view that was stated by Grandmaster Alex Yermolinsky, I think, in the most direct way. That material did not appear in English, as far as I know. I read it in Russian on one of the Russian chess websites. It's basically a transcript of his interview, where Andreev said, there is no room for any kind of rapid blitz, Armageddon, you name it. If it's a classical championship, then it has to be classical games only. Now, where is yours truly in that debate? Much closer to Andreev's position. Much, much closer. Well, I really think, this, that ultimately, it's even worse than toss a coin, right? A coin toss at least is completely random. Well, when we have, and that's the problem with all World Cups, as I played many of them in the World Championship knockout tournaments, and I watch them and work on them now, is that there is always one player in any given match that knows he's better and faster time controls. And that player, builds his strategy accordingly. All right. You might say, what if Carlsen had like the draw odds, like the Botvinnik and all these guys had? When it's a tie, then champion retains his title. Well, the important difference is that would be known. They would be known to both the champion and, most importantly, to the challenger. I think the way Caruana handled the second half of the match, there was always this thought in the back of his mind, I know Magnus is strong, but it's rapid, anything can happen. And therefore, he was not mentally committed 100% to go all the way and win the match in regulation. He wasn't able to win a single game. Same, of course, goes for Carlsen. But that's what it is. I think if that thing with the tiebreaks was removed out of the equation, Caruana would have handled it a little differently. Maybe he needed a sleepless night working on that knight d5 line in the Sveshnikov. Rather than, conserve your energy, you may be playing the tiebreak. Okay, anyway, I'm just guessing. Let me go to the game. I'll show you the last game, game 3. Now, Carlsen won first 2 games, which I covered in my previous videos, made rather in a hurry earlier today. Mentioned once again, of course, game 1 set the course. Caruana had a bad game out of the opening, chose the wrong plan, and while Carlsen's technique was, maybe too reliant on oversimplifications, he was headed for the rook endgame, which in my opinion was much closer to a draw. And indeed, there was a moment where Caruana had a draw. But Carlsen won this game nonetheless. And then the decisive was game 2, obviously, when Fabiano simply could not handle the frustration, his emotions after loss in game 1. His quick loss with white really created a situation that it's almost impossible to recover from. I say almost because we know, of course, Karyakin did it against Svidor. No, but maybe the stakes were a little, World Cup compared to World Championship. Who knows? Anyway, Fabiano gave it a ride. He gave his best in this interesting move order from Magnus. It's basically okay in white in this line, which is considered enough to equalize for black. But white just takes over there and plays bishop d3. I played it a few times. I always played a5 here with black. I don't know. No, maybe once again, a lot of value is given to preparation, even if it's rapid blitz. I have a feeling, that if this guy sat down to play a 100-game blitz match, an all-nighter, and then a move, something surprising is played, then, Caruana would always seek some different path. Same with Carlsen, right? I can't walk into his preparation. I don't know. Well, anyway, bishop c5, I understand it's probably not a bad move, particularly given the situation. So black is setting up some kind of hedgehog formation. Knight c2. There was queen f6, but I don't think it's very effective. It's just a different feel. You try to put your pawn on e5, play like this, at a knight to d4. It's somewhat different, unusual position. No, I don't know, maybe white has to castle long here to control the d4 square. Although, I'm not sure he controls it still. So anyway, yeah, that was interesting, but knight f6 was played, and now a bunch of standard moves led to rather standard position. Well, I would say formally black is equal here. But given the match situation and this pressing need to create something, well, I don't know actually what black could have done here. We can backtrack a few moves and look at this position. It's like d5 equalizes, but who's gonna play that when you need to win, right? This is just a draw in the end game. At least no winning chances for black. So Caruana kept it until this situation, 23 moves. And now Carlsen played a real good move, g4. I really like this move. Perhaps black should have kept the pawn on h5. Most of hedgehog players, would do that. He kept the pawn on h6. There is this thing. Alright, well, if you ask me why Fabiano Caruana didn't become a world champion, my answer would be probably something that you don't expect. He simply is not good enough in a wide variety of positions. Well, he's good in many of them, but not in all of them. And when Fabiano doesn't have the positional guidelines to help him move in the right direction and calculate the right variations, he simply becomes lost. I mean, Carlsen is different, of course. Carlsen is he's a positional player par excellence, in the mode of Capablanca and Karpov. And he has his strong taste and preference of not going into crazy positions with too much complexity, and he likes to simplify things. But that's just his character, his style. In Caruana's case, he's willing to play any position. He's willing to do whatever it takes. But some positions he just doesn't handle very well. I mean, that mainly goes to this kind of stuff that he had the white side of the Sveshnikov in all these games, including the fateful game 2 of the tiebreak. Okay, so here, h5 probably had to be played, but he underestimated g4. And now, the problem is, if you do e5 to get your knight to d4, then you get crushed. I mean, the pieces are awkward, the rooks, they seal off the queen, and now white's gonna win by checkmate. So, yeah, that's g5. It's a threat that white uses when he needs to. On this. Alright, so Caruana came back, and now probably Magnus could have come back, but he decided to blow the center open and get some pieces off the board. Maybe a good practical decision, because clearly Fabiano was not going to play queen a5 again, so he would play something else. And then the game would continue, and who knows, when the players get down to 1 minute each without anything happening on the board yet, and it's really unpredictable. So Magnus pushed forward. Objectively, he does not achieve advantage here. This was well played, bishop a8. But white probably has enough for a draw in any lines. I mean, he could have taken on a6. He was concerned about this, and maybe b4. I don't know, capture here and capture that pawn. Double attack. This is some kind of a pawn sacrifice, but the c pawn is looking mighty good. I don't know, I think white is doing very well in this position. But it may be a draw, right? Because some kind of perpetual. But I mean, draw is equals win for white. So he could have done that. He could have gone knight back to d3, and it's about equal. But Magnus takes an interesting decision. Once again, look, he looks to simplify. I mean, alright, maybe in some situations, like in that game 1, it could have cost him a full point, right? When he went to the rook endgame, which may have been a draw. But he knows his strong sides. He knows that he's better than most, if not anyone, in those simple position with less pieces on the board. And he knows that he's less likely to make a mistake himself. So that's why his strategy is very consistent. And until there is a guy who can prove him wrong by actually beating him, well, this is going to continue. On queen b2, he played an excellent move, queen d6. Now, the point is, of course, that if you take the knight, then white has this, at least perpetual. No, maybe that's all he needs, perpetual check. So therefore, knight d7 was played, and then they got to this. Now, a lot was said about queen and knight as fearsome combo attacking the king, but problem is that the knight doesn't have a protected square anywhere in the vicinity of the white king. If that knight, say, was on f4, it would be a different story. But d4 is a rather shaky square, and I think white is okay here after queen e3. Well, nonetheless, this is not a bad outcome of the opening to have this position when you are absolutely in a must-win situation. But here Fabiano totally lost it. His play from this point on to the end of the game leaves rather sad impression of really a broken man. Alright, things that haven't gone very well, and But I mean, still, you do the right thing. Well, get the. I mean, things have gone well, but I mean, maybe not to your expectations. But you have to work for it. Bring your king over there, king g6. I mean, the king clearly belongs to f6. You gotta get the king out of that potential mating net. Then maybe you can move your king side pawns forward. The king out, this move. Alright, how can this be refuted? If white doesn't do anything, then black will simply improve. Carlsen would have to go for this, in my opinion. Alright, my calculations, prove that this is quite good for white. And he runs no risk of losing at all in this situation. The pawn has gone too far. Alright, if you believe that he will find the move before, okay, you may still go king g6 and kind of gamble that white won't find it. Or else, you can play a5. Well, the problem with a5, there is this move bishop d5. But maybe it's okay too. And once again, in this situation, well, the good thing for black is that the white pawns are not moving side by side. So the c pawn for now is not going very far. But playing g5 opens up the king too much, and I think black should play h5. You still need some elbow room for that king. But do it this way, so you can bring the king to h6, should white go for this stuff. I mean, still it's a game. Well, unfortunately, Fabiano, I don't know if it was the physical exhaustion or just he was mentally spent after that terrible things that happened to him in games 1 and 2. But he simply didn't play well. None of his moves made any sense, and Carlsen easily brought the game to a logical conclusion by winning it. Alright, I think I said it all in my numerous videos, and alright, I'm very fortunate to be a witness of this great event, the chess history, and the platform that Chess.com gave me, allowing me to talk to you guys and share my thoughts and opinions. Thank you so much. This was Grandmaster Alex Yermolinsky.